Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling a question that I'm sure we've all thought about, which is, can AI actually help us be more productive?
It's a question everyone seems to be asking.
Right, like who couldn't use an extra hour or two in their day?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a really interesting question because there's so much hype around AI right now.
Yeah.
But we can definitely get into what's real, what's not, and are there actual opportunities to use it in our daily lives?
Yeah. And for this deep dive, we have excerpts from How AI Can Help to Increase Productivity from the Nifty blog, and How to Use AI Tools to Boost Your Productivity from LinkedIn Learning.
Nice.
So we've got the practical and the bigger picture, which I think will be an interesting combo.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that's really interesting is that both of these sources emphasize that AI is not something that's way off in the future. It's something that's already kind of interwoven with a lot of the tools that we're using every single day.
Totally, yeah. And I think the Nifty blog actually does a good job of breaking down what AI even is.
Yeah, definitely. They describe it as basically giving computers the ability to perform tasks that usually require human intelligence.
Okay, so what does that actually mean?
So think of things like, learning or reasoning, problem solving.
Okay.
The kinds of things that, up until recently, we thought were very much in the realm of humans.
So then, how does machine learning play into that whole thing? Because that's a big buzzword right now.
Yeah, so machine learning is a really big part of AI. It's essentially the idea that you can feed a computer program a massive amount of data, and the computer can then analyze that data, identify patterns in it, and then use those patterns to make predictions or decisions.
So it's like teaching a computer to learn from experience, just like we do,
Yeah,
but probably with a lot more data than we could ever handle.
exactly. And much faster. And that's what makes it so powerful for things like, analyzing huge data sets that would take humans forever to go through.
So it's like having a super-powered research assistant, but instead of digging through the archives, it's like crunching numbers.
Right, exactly.
Okay, but how does all of this actually translate to being more productive in our daily lives? Because it still feels kind of theoretical. It's cool that computers can learn, but what's in it for me?
Right. So the LinkedIn Learning article really focuses on that practical side, which I think is really helpful.
Okay, yeah.
And they break it down into 4 main benefits of AI for productivity: automating tasks, finding insights and data, making communication smoother, and even personalizing our experiences.
Okay, so let's break those down a bit.
Let's do it.
Let's start with automation, because I feel like we've all got those tasks. The ones that are just so tedious and repetitive, they just suck the life out of your workday, Is that something that AI can actually help us get rid of?
Yeah, I think so. So think about things like scheduling meetings, organizing your inbox, or even managing your to-do list. AI can actually automate a lot of these tasks.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and free up your time and energy for other things.
I'm already feeling calmer.
I know, right?
Okay, but what about finding insights in data? I feel like nowadays we're just drowning in data all the time.
Yes, data overload is a real thing. But that's actually where AI can be incredibly helpful. The Nifty blog talks about how AI can analyze these massive amounts of data way faster and probably way more effectively than humans can.
So it's like having that research assistant again, but instead of digging through archives, they're sifting through spreadsheets and customer data and trying to figure it all out.
Exactly. And not just sifting through it, but actually finding those hidden patterns and trends that we might completely miss as humans,
Yeah, because we don't have the brain capacity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then those insights can help us make better decisions.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not just about working faster, it's about working smarter.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, so we've covered automation and finding insights. What about that third benefit? Smoother communication.
So the LinkedIn Learning article had some really interesting points on that. They talked a lot about how AI can help us communicate more efficiently and effectively. Have you ever, struggled to write an email or wished you could find the perfect words for a presentation?
Oh my gosh, all the time. Sometimes I feel like I spend hours on email.
Me too. Well, AI can help with that. There are all these AI-powered writing assistants now that can help you write more clearly, more concisely, and even adapt your tone depending on who you're writing to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they can help you generate content ideas, summarize long documents. Some of them can even translate languages in real time, which I think is pretty amazing.
That's really wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so AI can potentially be a huge help for people who spend a lot of time communicating with others.
Yeah, definitely.
But what about that fourth benefit? personalization.
Yeah.
How can AI actually make our work experiences more personalized? Because I feel like right now it's the opposite. With all this technology, it can sometimes feel very impersonal.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a good way to think about it is to think about the recommendations you get on like streaming services or, when you're shopping online. A lot of that is powered by AI algorithms that are learning your preferences and then suggesting things that it thinks you might like based on, your past behavior.
Okay, I get that. But how does that apply to my workday?
So imagine an AI-powered calendar that doesn't just schedule your meetings, but also learns your preferred meeting times, or even which colleagues you maybe work best with, or a project management tool that prioritizes your tasks based on your work style and your deadlines. That's AI personalization at work.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
It's like the technology is finally working for us instead of us always trying to catch up and figure out the technology.
Exactly. It's about making our lives easier.
Okay, so we've talked about all this great stuff that AI can potentially do, but aren't there downsides?
I mean, of course, nothing's perfect. There are always going to be downsides. But I think rather than getting caught up in these dystopian sci-fi scenarios about robots taking over the world, the Nifty blog actually highlights a much more realistic concern, which is data privacy.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because essentially we are giving all this information over to these systems, to these AIs. So how do we know that the information's being used responsibly?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's where understanding, how important it is to have robust security measures in place is really key.
Okay.
I mean, think about it like this. You wouldn't, leave your diary out for anyone to read, right?
Great. Definitely not.
So similarly, these AI systems need to have really strong security protocols in place to make sure that your data is protected and that nobody can access it who shouldn't.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not just about the AI itself, but the entire sort of ethical framework that we build around it.
Exactly. And the Nifty blog really stresses this too. They talk a lot about the importance of transparency.
Right.
Companies being upfront about how they're using your data and giving you more control over your information. So you're not just handing it over blindly.
Right. So it's a two-way street. We can get all these benefits from AI, but we also need to be aware of, how our data is being used and make sure that, we're advocating for responsible AI practices.
Absolutely. Now, the LinkedIn Learning article also brought up something else I wanted to make sure we touch on, which is the impact of all of this on jobs.
Okay. Yeah, that's the big one.
It's something that I think people are understandably kind of anxious about.
Yeah.
Are robots going to steal our jobs?
Exactly.
But I think the way the LinkedIn Learning article framed it was really interesting. They talk about it less as this extinction event, all the jobs are going to go away, but more as how do I want to put this? An evolution, a changing of the skills that are needed in the workplace.
Oh, okay. So instead of being afraid that our jobs are just going to disappear, we should really be focusing on adaptability.
Exactly.
And learning those new skills that are going to be needed.
Exactly. It's about identifying those skills that are uniquely human, that AI can't replicate. Things like creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And really honing those skills because those are the ones that are going to be more and more valuable in a future where AI is doing more and more of the, routine tasks.
So it's almost like AI is forcing us to tap into our human potential a little bit more.
I love that. I think that's a really great way to put it. It's about remembering that AI is a tool, a very powerful tool, but it's still a tool that we can use, that we can leverage to unlock new levels of productivity, creativity, and, even job satisfaction potentially.
This has been so eye-opening. I mean, who knew that AI could be so human-centric? But here's something I was thinking about as we were talking. If AI is getting so good at helping us streamline our work and boost our productivity, does that mean that could it also lead to even more demanding work cultures? You know?
Oh, that's really interesting. I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, because it could go either way, right?
Yeah, it could.
It could either free us up to have more time for ourselves, or it could be oh, well, now you can get this much more done, so we expect this much more from you.
Right. It's does it raise the bar in a way that's actually sustainable or healthy?
Exactly. And I don't know, I think it's something to think about as we move into this world where AI is becoming more and more prevalent.
Absolutely. It's how do we ensure that those boundaries are still there.
Yeah.
And that we're using AI to actually improve our lives, not just make us all workaholics.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's a good place to maybe leave it for our listeners. Just something for everyone to kind of ponder. Like, how do we want to shape this future with AI?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a conversation that's just getting started.
For sure. So that's it for today's deep dive on AI and productivity. We hope you found it interesting and maybe even a little bit thought-provoking.
Yeah, definitely.
Until next time, happy AIing.